Welcome everybody, and lovely to see familiar faces every week. Thoroughly enjoying bringing my inner standing and my knowledge of the subjects that we touch on. So last week we touched on angels, and I hope that you started engaging with them. Please don't let this just be head knowledge. Please, grab hold of this in your spirit and start moving with all these incredible things that we have around us, that we are supplied with, not only by the Creator and the universe, but they're there to totally work with us. So I don't normally like talking about demons and negative beings and energy and things like that, but I felt really prompted that I need to bring this to the table, and there's a reason why I felt really prompted to do this. Now, this actually is going to be a two-part series because of the depth that I want to take you in understanding this subject. All right, so we've got demons, negative beings, and energy. Here we go, guys. So it's a time to be aware of the negative forces that are around us. Not that we are afraid of them. We never come from fear. We don't need to be afraid, but we do need to be aware, and we need to be awake to their devices and how they work. So part one, I'm going to touch on demons. So according to scripture, Lucifer was the anointed cherub. He was a worship leader that covered the throne of God. He was himself a musical instrument. So he was, scripture describes him as very, very beautiful. He had all sorts of gems and jewels on him, and he had every type of musical instrument that we know today already within his being, which is pretty amazing, actually. And that's Ezekiel 28, 13, 14. There are scripture references. I've done that for those that need that or would like that. And he's known as the Prince of the Air. Satan, the Prince of Demons, scripture, Luke 11, 15. He was also known as the Prince of Persia and the Prince of Greece. Again, scripturally, the archangel Michael was at war with this particular demon in a battle. So I want to touch on the Nephilim now, because I'm not totally 100% where all you guys are at in, what you know and don't know. The Nephilim are referred to as the fallen angels. And this is, a lot of this comes out of the book of Enoch, which was never included in the Bible as we know. And they actually had relationships with the beautiful women, human women, and Nephilim are the result of that. And they have both angel and human DNA, which ended up, they became the giants. And they were tyrants, and they also were evil spirits. So here's a picture of a giant. Obviously, this is the famous, David and Goliath aspect. Now, when you look at reading scripture, it's really good to look at all the details. So why did David pick up 5 stones? And the answer to that is because Goliath had 4 other brothers. So he was prepared. He was armed to be able to deal with these beings. And more proof is coming out now. They're finding skeletons of these giants. Like now science is actually confirming a lot of history that we read in the Bible as well. So we also have the Watchers, which is Daniel 4:13, sons of God, sons of heaven. They were sent to earth to watch over the sons of man. And Watcher is used to describe a group of angels responsible for monitoring humans. They possessed great strength, had relationships with women, right, which where they gave birth to giants. And also, watchers were responsible for teaching mankind different skills and knowledge. Now, I always, as a child, would look at history or look at, the Vikings or look at different things. I go, how did we learn this? How did that come onto the earth? How did weapons come onto the earth? How did, the armors and, some of the things that aren't very nice in retrospect came onto the earth? Well, these are the guys that introduced it to the humans. And they also, jewelry, writing spells, enchantments, astrology, herbal medicines acknowledged. Now, remember, as I said last week, we have good and bad on both sides. So there's a lot of good in what they taught us, but also it can be turned for the bad side. So Satan was also the great dragon in Revelations 12:7, and he has a hierarchy or a chain of command, just like the angels do, but it looks a little bit different. So this is their hierarchy. It's the evil spirits or spiritual wickedness and do demonic assignments. And then we have demon devils, imps, and entities, right? Negative entities. Sometimes they could be ghosts, but depending on whether they're, there for good or bad, yeah? Satan demons are ascribed as the fallen angels. They have a hierarchy in place, which I just showed you. Now, this is what I found really interesting. Demon means malevolent spirit beings, meaning to wish to harm, to do evil towards human. Malevolent that word, behavior, showing or arising from intense, often vicious, ill will, spite, or hatred. Now, let me just stop there for a minute. This is my understanding of why the enemy comes after us the way that he does, is because he absolutely has such a hate for us. And I was in the spirit one day and I'm like, okay, why does he hate us so much? Like, what did we do? What have we done? And the spirit told me he hates us because he is not redeemable. We are redeemable beings. In other words, if we shift our actions or our mindset, if we come into true alignment with the creator of the universe, then our past and, the things that we've done that are wrong can be forgiven. Satan will not be forgiven. He is not a redeemable being. So you need to remember that. So he rules with principalities, world rulers of the darkness of this age, spiritual wickedness in high places, dominions and authorities. And I'm going to break this down for you so that you'll get an understanding of how this works, guys. So principalities is defined as the territory or jurisdiction. So there are areas or there can be nations or even cities that he will place a principality over. Now, the strength or the depth of this principality is key to something that I'll show you down the track. And it all links to a certain couple of things. All right. So he has assignment over areas. Principality tells us that there is a ranking that he is organized. Now, he is an organized being. He has commanders, he has generals, he has captains, depending on what their agenda is, what their assignment is, determines where they stand, okay? I've personally seen this in the spiritual world as well, that they have rankings. And that's why, again, it's like, if you're going to deal with something, let's get to the head. Let's go to the head. Let's go to the root of the issue. What's the foothold? Why do they have a right to be there? And I'll talk about that a bit more. World rulers of this age, evil rulers placed in the world in this time and era. So obviously throughout history, we've seen a number of rulers that have come in over countries, etc., and they have been placed there with an evil agenda, which normally they have an evil entity assisting them. Powers in the Greek is exousios, and it means authorities. Remember, power and authorities placed over areas and territories having been given orders and assignments to carry out. Spiritual wickedness in high places. These are highly destructive in character and can appear as angels of light and deception, drawing their victims into destruction. Satan assigns certain spirits over nations or cities or geographical locations and buildings. Now, guys, this is where it gets really interesting, because I'm going to show you some things that are in plain sight. So again, throughout the churches, throughout all of that, which we touched on with the ley lines, we have these creatures, and they're meant to be there to ward them off against evil, which blows me away, because I'm like, well, why would evil be warding off evil? That is an oxymoron as far as I'm concerned. So here's another picture of that. And there's heaps of them. Now, look at this one here. I took this photo personally. This is a demon head on the building in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. And it is on the building of the births, deaths, and marriages. Very, very interesting, guys. Now, I want to touch on something else here. See where the position of this demon head sculpture is positioned. See the shape of the stone that he's sitting on? Now, they call that a keystone. The keystone is paramount to the arch, because it is the last stone that goes in, and it keeps everything else in its place. And I find this really fascinating, that keystones are used throughout so many buildings, and they belong to particularly Freemasonry. And there's a whole lot of symbolism around the keystone. I'm just giving you a touch on that. But guys, when you go out, have a look around. Have a look at the symbols that are on them. They're everywhere, especially if you're in a country that's got a lot of history, a lot more than what Australia has. Deep history, you'll find a lot of this. And it's telling us, remember, they have to tell us what they're doing. Their symbolism is everywhere. And I'm going to show you some more of that in a minute. So just heads up, guys, have a look around, take photos, and start to be aware. This is the keystone of this building. It's telling you what it stands on. The position of the demon is important. I've already said that. Enables the arch to bear weight. So also, this is another one. This is in Budapest, actually, on the side of a building. And it's funny, it's holding up a lamp. Interesting. Symbolisms are how evil marks his message and infiltrates. So this is just a picture of a lot of their different occultish symbols. And I'm doing a really deep dive and pulling out lots of stuff that I learned a long time ago. And I may present that at another time if need be. But I would rather stay in the positive, guys. I'm just giving you this for an awareness. And this will be a two-part series, because I want to show you this side of it, but then I'm going to take you next week on a journey on what his agenda is and how he operates, so that we're always a step ahead of him. This is about equipping you. There's no fear here. There's nothing to be afraid of. Being forewarned is being forearmed. Occult symbol. Now, this is interesting here. This is on a drink that we're seeing everywhere, yeah? So the M looks like a claw. Can everyone see that picture, yeah? Every stroke in Hebrew equals the number 6. So see how there's 3 stripes? So the 1 is equal to a Hebrew stroke. That's the number 6. 3 strokes equals 666. The O with the strike through it like a cross, when the can is upside down, when you're drinking it, it becomes an inverted cross. Starbucks logo has a siren, a mermaid with a crown. Well, in Greek mythology, sirens used to infatuate sailors to steal their souls, right? And this is marketing on a spiritual level. Starbucks don't have a jingle because their symbolism is enough. Now, personally, I have walked into Starbucks and I've walked out again because I don't like the energy on it. And I could never understand why. I was like, why? I just don't. People go, oh, Starbucks. I go, yuck. Well, this is why, because they're marketing on a spiritual level. So exposure is here. I'm going to share with you a few other interesting things. These are recent. This makes me laugh. The Pope Francis warns the Vatican staff the devil, an elegant demon, lurks among them. Hello. I just go, are you serious? You guys are just, it's your symbolism of the demonic is all over the Vatican. There is so many spots, so many signs, yeah? So this is just last week here in Australia, the ghost in room 311, and the paper has put out the whole story and who got killed in that room, and all the people that used to stay in that room would end up running out of there. And I'm like, it's like, okay, guys, there is an increase. Let me tell you what's coming. There is going to be an increase of the manifestation of the demonic. Why? Because he has lost the battle. The only thing he can come at us with is to get us into fear, to get us into negativity. And so therefore we will see a greater manifestation. I'm giving you a heads up of what's coming in the spirit, because when it starts coming out in the papers, they start talking about it. It is bringing that awareness to it. So then people start to anticipate it. And if they don't know who they are, they don't know what they're dealing with, then they will start to work with it, if you understand what I'm saying. Here's another one, the footy star and the little boy ghost, another story. These were all just last week. These came out. The other thing I want you to give you a heads up on is like Ouija boards and ornaments. Now, I have touched on this in the past, and I want to share this story with you, particularly if you have ever played with a Ouija board. I was in America 2011, I think it was, 2012, and a friend rang me and said, Dottie, we've got a family and their daughter has been sick for 6 months. And every time they go to the doctors, it keeps changing position. She gets different ailments. They can't work out what it is. And she was really sick. They go, can you please come and see what what it might be. I'm like, yeah, no worries. Now, these were a good Christian, go to church family. And she was a teenager. And I was at their house and I sat her down, and her parents were present because we were like, okay, we're going into battle, so to speak, into warfare. That's not how I do things these days. I've learned a better way. Can I just share that with you on how to combat evil or demonic things? But when you're learning the process, you kind of go with what you know. And it was like, okay, we're going to go into warfare. Not that I let them go into warfare. It was like, just back me up in the spirit here. And then I'm sitting there and I looked at her and I said, I asked her, have you ever played with a Ouija board? Now, her parents answered for her and said, no, she would never have done that. And I looked at her and I said, sweetie, have you ever played with a Ouija board? And her head went like this. And her parents were like, oh! And I went, it's all right. Oh, everyone calm down. It's all good. We have an answer. This little girl had played with a Ouija board, which then opened her up to have an evil spirit that moved around her body, moved around her organs, and made them sick, made them dysfunction. So we dealt with that, and she got instantly healed and set free. So I'm bringing this to the table because we need to become more alert and more aware of the things that we consent to, the things that we partner with, the things that we play with, even out of jest. He will use to get an entry point. It's the same with ornaments, ornaments that you purchase overseas. Some of the sculptures and the wood carvings and things like that overseas are amazing. They really are. They're beautiful. But you need to get a feel for that ornament to make sure that the person that was creating it was not putting evil intent onto the sculpture. These are the things that we need to become more aware of, that this is what the enemy will use. Awakening has brought an awareness, right? We're resisting negative, and it has to go. It has to move, guys. So, knowing who you are, and I'm a big one for this, knowing who you are, knowing what you carry, who you belong to, the power within you. You're all powerful people. If you are using it for good, fantastic. That's what we need to be using it for. All right, I'm going to keep going a little bit more. So part 2, what's their agenda? Their agenda is to steal, kill, and destroy, right? You cannot make a deal with the devil and you win. There are no winners with those that dance with the devil. His whole agenda is to steal, kill, and destroy. No matter the agreement, the contract, whether done verbally, physically, sacrificially, spiritually, the human is never the winner. There are a lot of people that have done deals with the devil, and they've promised them success and wealth and, the 3 Gs, the gold, the glory, and the girls, or the gold, the glory, and the guys. But in the end, they don't win. They still pay a huge price for it. To disrupt, his agenda is also to disrupt the Creator's plan, and to be an adversary opponent, blocking or challenging your purpose. You need to get this. We kind of need to go, a lot of people go, yeah, we know about the devil, but we don't want to know about it. And we like to live this cushy life. We like to have life that has no problems. And I'm hearing you. I get it. But Don't be fooled, because the fact is, while good people do nothing, evil prevails. And I think we're coming to a time that we need to now go, hang on a minute, don't sit back being comfortable. There is a job that we're here to do. There is things that we need to do, and that is, and we need to rise up in our personal purposes and our what we're called to do here on the earth. I love the fact that people are doing NOLs. I love it. The people are really getting their head into it. They're learning, they're doing the paperwork. And I'm seeing that many of them are having battles as well, because the post office are rejecting them because they're getting smart to the idea of what we're doing. You got to realize that. Once we start something, he'll try and counteract it. We've got to go the next step, the next level. But if we cover everything, we get our angels working with us, we get groups of people in agreement of the intent, of the purpose of any action that we're taking, is when you have success and breakthrough. Evil, or the word strong man, delegated. Stronghold means fortress. A foothold in Greek is topo, meaning an inhabitable place, legally. Now, this is key. Hang on, I'll go back to that. A lot of people are unaware that for him to have any access in your life, any infiltration, he has to find a legal entry. It can be through, like the Ouija board. That became a legal entry. The sculptures or structures or things like that, they can be an entry. In fact, I'll tell you another personal story. It happened in Byron Bay. We had a wedding to go to, and we hired a house because there was a fairly big family. So we hired a house, and there was a particular statue, huge statue, in the middle of the garden. Okay. Now, this is part of what some of the New Agers brought. They're bringing in these certain sculptures. And I looked at it, I went, oh, okay, radio. And I let it, I didn't do anything particular about it because I'm, with family and they're not on the same page, and that's okay. They thought the sculpture was beautiful. I'm like, radio. Well, for 2 nights, number one, both my kids could not sleep. They were being harassed in their sleep, and I kept seeing eyes everywhere. And I'm going, okay, I put up with it for 2 nights for the sake of the rest of the family. And I went, okay, that's it. And I grabbed a huge towel and I threw it over the sculpture. And I said, right, I'm shutting you down, because I was shown that it was the problem. Well, the rest of the week that we were there, we didn't have any problems because I shut it down. Now, I didn't do a 10-day fast, and I didn't do a 24-hour, begging God or, begging it to go away. I took authority. I took, knowing who I am, I just went, nah, I've put up with you for 2 nights, and I don't care what the rest of the family think. And I covered the sculpture. Now, they're looking at me going, what did you do that for? I said, because it's hideous is the word I used. I went, oh, I can't stand it. And they just went, oh, yeah, whatever, and rolled their eyes. But they left it covered. Interesting, hey? And these are sometimes it's just a simple fix. Sometimes it's just like, that's the action that I'm going to take, and it will shut it down. So, these are the things that we need to become more and more aware of. Now, these are some different evil spirits. Again, I'm using scripture because scripture actually has a great information about how evil works. Interesting that, hey. So, we've got a deceitful spirit, we've got a familiar spirit. Now, a familiar spirit generally runs on a generational line. It's like a spirit that gets passed down from one generation to another. And that's where, when I do generational clearings, I'm often moving those sort of things that are negative. Remember, we're looking at the negative. There's some familiar spirits that are positive that get passed down, and we want them to stay there because they're positive. So we've got a lying spirit, a mute and deaf spirit, perverse spirit often links in with lust and pornographic, things like that. Often the perverse spirit will sit in hotel rooms, especially when those hotel rooms are used for, pornographic stuff, adultery, also soliciting, that sort of thing. A perverse spirit will often sit in those places. If you've, and I'll ask you a question: have you ever gone to a motel, gone to bed, and you have thoughts that are not how you normally think, right? They're perverse thoughts. They're like, what the heck? Where did that come from? And especially if you're not that way inclined, it will be really clear to you that you're like, well, why? That's a weird thought. That is why there is a perverse spirit in the bed. Remember, the bed is a portal. But we have power and authority over it. You can shut it down, you can clean it out, or normally you tend to go to quite often they sit more in a lower class, or lower budget is the word, motels. Whereas if you're going to a slightly better, you don't get it as much. Doesn't mean it's still not there, but you don't get it. It's not as prevalent, right? So you can have a spirit of heaviness, a spirit of infirmity, which is what happened with the Ouija board, spirit of jealousy, and a spirit of bondage. So let me touch on this a little bit more. Book of Revelations, mark of the beast, 666, we're all aware of that. Number 6 actually represents the physical world, the earth. Anything written or spoken in 3 increases. Now, remember, the notices that you're doing, we do trespass signs as well. You always put them in 3s. If you say anything in 3, it actually then becomes a fact, right? So the power of it in it equals the maximum. It's the fact. So 666, the ultimate world, completely physical. This is the state that he wants us in, that we are completely physical. We completely disconnected. We're separated from our true spirituality. We're disconnected from the Creator, or God, and the symbolism for them is imperfection, incompleteness, and falling short. Now, think about that for a minute. When you think of our programming, are we not always told through all of advertising, schooling, education, universe, we're never enough. We're not good enough. We don't make the grade. This is all part of the 666. This is, the mark of the beast. This is what negative energy, Lucifer, Satan, whatever you want to call him, is his whole intent. Because when you come into knowing who you are as God created you, the Creator, you know that you are more than enough. You know that you are perfect. You know that you're already complete. So this is the shift that we are in right now. People are coming out and under from this spell. This is a spell. It's a global spell, and we are coming out from under it. So therefore, we are becoming more in line, more aware, more hungry to know who we really are. What's our purpose here? We are significant. A lot of people suffer from feeling insignificant because of this whole fact right here. The mark of the beast, all you do is pursue physical desires, right? It's all about the house, the home, the clothes that you wear, how good you look, who you're with, who you're associated with. Are they the in crowd, the influencers? All of that we've been, bombarded with. All of that is part of this design, right? It takes our focus off the one true thing, and that is your creator and you, the power of you. And it keeps our mind out of being connected to the spiritual. So here's some other things about the enemy. The counterfeits of Satan, he has his own trinity. Those that are Bible scholars here, Revelation 16:13, there's the devil, the beast, and the false prophet. He has his own church, the synagogue of Satan. He has his own system of theology, which is the doctrines of devils. So, you guys would be well aware that, there's satanic churches. There is the occult. That's all around us. But we don't have to be part of that. Characters of evil is to cause fear, chaos, misfortune, mischief, deception, adversary, accusation, lies, murder, temptation, limitations, misunderstanding, disunity. So these are the things, these are part of his tricks. If he can get you into fear, he will, he's got you. You've got to stand up and go, no, be fearless, people. Don't be afraid. Doesn't matter what he throws at you. Be fearless. He's always throwing accusations. The accusations go with what I shared with you. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not tall enough. You're not thin enough. These are all accusations. They're all lies. And that's part of what I shared with you just in the previous slides. That's the agenda, because it keeps us disconnected. It disempowers us when we believe those lies. We think that we are limited. Or there's often lots of misunderstanding. When there's misunderstanding, there becomes disunity. And they are all part of his tricks on how to derail us. Evil spirits exert pressure on humans to perform actions that are contradictory to our well-being and true design. How are we going? We all good? They need humans to carry out and to fulfill their agenda. They will try and influence you to contract with them, giving them a legal right to operate and the power to act out their agenda. He has no power or authority unless we give it to him. That's why it's really important that we get a grasp on how he works, right? Angels that I talked about last week, they're waiting for us to engage with them, to contract with them, right? So is the enemy. But angels have a lot more manners. They will not force themselves onto you. They will not, bombard you with, I'm here, why aren't we doing things? Whereas the enemy does. He'll get in your face. He'll harass you. He will try and do these things, okay? If you're playing with that side of stuff. How does he get entry into our life? remember, he has to have a lawful entry, a legal right. Now, when I take people into a courtroom session, the enemy is always present because he is the accuser. He has to present why he has a legal right, and then we can deal with it. When I do energy clearings or healings with people, or we're dealing with traumas, it's always look for the entry point. If you deal with the fruits of it, you're not dealing with the entry point. You're not dealing with the legal right. And that's important that you find it. You need to find it in your own life, and you can help others to find it in theirs. All right? There is always an offer. So that's part of like the law. They're offering us something. That's what they're constantly doing. They're offering, and we can choose to contract with them. Yeah. So by agreement, by consent. This is why words are so powerful, and people just underestimate the words that they speak about themselves and others. All right. So it's actions, attitudes, also can come in via trauma, knowingly or unknowingly. Now, there are some things that happen in your life that you go, well, why is this happening? And there's a big push at the moment where people are saying, oh, well, what's inside of you is what you will attract. And I don't go with that 100%, because my heart isn't to attract trouble. It isn't to attract evil or trauma or drama. That's not who I am. Yet sometimes it will still show its face, or it will still be there, or it'll come through other people. And it's like, hang on a minute, that's not what's in me. And this is where we've got to discern, okay, if that's coming at me, why? Why is that coming at me? Is there an agenda to try and take me out, or take me off track, or to bring confusion or disunity? Yeah, that's the difference. Then we go, hang on a minute, let's look at why. It's not always you. It is what is happening around you. And you still have power and authority to shut that down. Free will is always involved with everything that we do on the earth. I've had, certain leaders in my life, and they're telling me what I have to do. And I go, hang on a minute. I get a choice here. If anyone's telling you what you can and can't do, they are not of the Spirit of God, Creator, or love. If they're making suggestions, that's a different story. But if they're telling you, you have to do this, I would be stepping, going, hang on a minute, what's really going on here? Who's behind this really? There is a big difference, guys, and we need to always stay true to our free will. Every day is a day that I choose to spend time in the Spirit, to spend with the Creator, because I want to. Why do I want to? Because I have an amazing relationship with Creator. There are people in my life that I want to spend time with because they are amazing people and I love who they are and I have a great relationship with them. Does that make sense? I'm going to stop there for today. I'm going to go into the next lot next week. Let me just stop sharing this for a minute and come back to you all. So remember, there's always free will. There's always a choice. in everything that you do. You can decide what time you've got to get up in the morning or how prepared you are, whether you spend time with Creator, with the Spirit. These are all your choices. And we have the power. We can overcome all things. Because remember, I'm sharing these things with you to be aware, but it's about carrying the love and the right intent of everything that we do. Evil prevails because of wrong intent. We have greed, we have selfishness, we have people that want to be dictators, they want the authority, they want the power. And do you know why? Because they are insecure. Insecurity is the deepest root issue that we need to get over. That whole, agenda of the 666 that I shared, it feeds your insecurity. It keeps you in that place of not being good enough. This is where it's time to love yourself, appreciate. Look how incredible you are. Look how incredibly we're made. We are just amazing humans that God created, and our spirit knows all things. It can tap into all things. It can step over all situations. There's solutions for everything. And that's what I'm all about, guys, bringing solutions, bringing change. We are the change. But we need to be aware of how he works to try and take us out. Because the more of us that rise up and know who we are, the less influence and power he has. So there's a bit of a power struggling happening. So there's a couple of questions popping up, and I do want to answer those. So everyone all good? All good? Did that help? Okay, someone's just put up, self-love is difficult to learn in a world of shame and blame. My friend, if we break off listening to that and come into our being, coming to being connected with the true source of spirit, not all this artificial stuff, you will find security. I promise you. You will have breakthrough in every area, because insecurity is based in fear. We have not been given a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. All right, Jenny, you want to help me with the questions, darling?
Sure, I can read them for you.
Thank you.
Okay, from Lori, she says, I have one question. How can you best discern if someone is truthful or real, trying to help humanity?
Okay. Great question. In this time that, good is rising up, and I've run many, many communities, workshops, things like that. And you've got to really start getting that discernment kicking in, because there are people that will come along and say the right thing. But if you give them enough rope, they will show themselves for who they really are. So I have people that come into the community that have definitely got the wrong agendas. So I've dealt with it in two ways. If I'm in a group speaking, and I see someone like that come in purely there for an agenda to bring disruption, I will, number one, I'll go in the spirit and I'll shut them down. Number two, I have challenged it from the stage. I have said to them, anyone here that does not have the right heart intent for what we're doing, I'm asking you to leave now, and they have gotten up and walked out. And number 3, there are some people that I see they've got a heart, they've got a lot of potential, and I want to give them a chance. So I'm aware of what's sitting behind them, but I want to give them a chance. And I will work with them and I will walk with them. And I'll give them lots of opportunities, but then they will actually implode themselves and walk away. So 10 times out of 10, that little gut niggle, that little, hang on a minute, something's not right, that first, you are 100% on. Sometimes I'll get shown a red flag and then I'll go, okay, what do you want me to do? I see the red flag, but what does the Spirit want me to do? Is this person redeemable? Is this person open to change? If they walk with me or our community, will they start to think different, start to behave differently?
Okay, we have another question. You ready?
Yep.
Peggy Joe is asking, can the power to say something 3 times be used for us in the good too?
Absolutely. That is absolutely. We can say something 3 times. This is why in the practical, the 3 notices, we get 3 notices. If you've got a bill, they have to give you 3 notices. If we're doing anything, you have to give them 3, the power of 3. And we can say things 3 times. Now, if you have trespass signs on your property, the right ones, you need 3 of them, because the 3 of them establishes it as law, as a fact. This is a fact. Now, can I say this? If you stand in the mirror and say, I'm going to be a size 10, I'm going to be a size 10, I'm going to be a size 10. I wish that happened. Or I'm not going to be bald, I'm going to have hair, I'm going to have hair, I'm going to have hair. It doesn't quite work like that, guys. There's actions that need to follow up with it. Yeah, that's right. There's actions that need to follow up with it. All right. So, but if you're having, this is why even police, if you get pulled up with police, they will ask you, do you understand? Do you understand? If you keep saying, no, I don't, they haven't got jurisdiction, because they need you to say, I understand. Well, the word understand means I come under your standing. In other words, I come under your authority. That's why it's like people go, do you understand? I go, oh, well, I'll understand. So these are some things that you've got to get. But yes, we can say it 3 times. If you need to say 3 times to an evil entity, get out, if that helps you, that's fine. You will learn to be able to say it once and they'll behave. They'll go. They have to, when you know who you are. Next.
Okay, we got the last question is from OB. He says, I heard the Father would forgive Satan if he repented. Is there a scripture for that? Where does it say Lucy is not redeemable?
Lucifer's not redeemable because he's already been past judgment. He was cast out of heaven, right? And he's been already, his judgment has already been made. Hell is designed for demons. I don't personally go with the fact that hell is designed for humans. simply because I just don't see that as the Creator's heart. And that's why we're redeemable. Everybody on this earth is redeemable as far as being God's creation, yeah? That's my point of view, guys. I know that lots of people, fire and brimstone. If you don't accept Jesus, you're going to hell. I don't see that in God's character at all. I feel that it is a religious trick to manipulate people to come into some sort of sect or group or religion to bring control. That's my perspective. Some people may, obviously, everyone is entitled to think differently. We are all at different levels of truth and inner standing and different relationship with Creator. And that's fine because we're all on a learning journey. I learn new stuff every day. I'm always learning and I love it. I never want to sit stagnant. I want God to continually grow me in every area. So this is where, Satan redeemable. Well, it doesn't sit with me personally. All right. Okay. Everyone all good?
We have one more question that I think is interesting. From Anne? Thank you, Anne. What about a situation as recently with the hurricane where so many people are missing dead in terms of did they have a choice? And we've got 3 minutes left.
Okay. Well, look, it's like the floods that we had here in Australia. It's like the fires over in Maui. And my personal opinion on this is I believe that they are all being manufactured. They are man-made or evil-made. The harp definitely exists. We have proof of that. And they are manipulating a lot of things. And what's unfortunate is innocent people get hurt, good people suffer. And this is where it's paramount, guys, that we start to know who we are, because if we know what's coming, if we get shown in the spirit what's coming, we can shift it. We can shut it down. This is what we need to get. We can shut it down. Imagine if there's we had it here in Australia a few years ago. We had a huge hurricane warning on the top of Queensland. A whole group of people went and stood on the beach and told it could not hit Australia. And it dispersed. They shut it down. I can't remember the hurricane, I'm sorry, off the top of my head. But people stood there, and I think one person died in that hurricane that, it was a 10 and it became a 2. But people went, because they set the alarm, people went in their shelter, and a person went in his room with a generator that was fuel operated, and obviously no fresh air because he had the light running, and he died from asphyxiation. So, and that was because it was advertised, big hurricane coming to Australia, like 10, everyone battened down the hatches, mass destruction. Well, a whole group of people that knew what they were about just went, that's not happening. Sometimes we got to go, not on our watch. That's not happening on our watch, right? We are on the watch, guys. We're the ones that need to start rising up, knowing who we are. While we stay stuck down in our insecurities, in our fears, in our obsessions on, not looking good enough, not being good enough, we are out of the game. When we rise up and go, I will not listen to those lies anymore. I'm going to stand up in knowing who the Creator is, who God is for me, and we rise up and say no more, we will bring change. We will see the change. What's happened after COVID is that people have become comfortable again. They've become laxed. You know, everyone out of fear was running to the gathering that I set up in their hundreds. And then, oh, the threat's not here anymore. Yes, it is. It's still here. It is being exposed, but it's very slow because we're not waking up quick enough, or people have become complacent. Let me tell you this. The witches and warlocks are more passionate about keeping their rituals and their rites than we that are in oneness with the Creator, that walk in love. They are more passionate. They have a whole calendar of agendas that they have to partake of every day, not every day of the week, but all year. And they are very passionate about being involved in it. And I find, and I'm going to say this, a lot of Christians and a lot of New Agers are complacent. We just want this nice little life, and we want things to good. We don't like discomfort. We're not prepared to, discipline ourselves to be skilled, to get the knowledge, to wake up, to do the work, to, better ourselves, get rid of the rubbish is, part of the process. We've got to shake off what he's put on us. And that's part of what the awakening has done. I know that there's people that have been doing it just as long as I have, but we've only been a few. And we've done great works, but there's still more to do. And we have the numbers. It's all about the numbers. And if more of us we could have this Zoom with the 35 people here. We get on the same page with the same heart and the same vision. We can shift stuff together and we can blow things up. And we don't come from a battle perspective, right? The battle's already won. But a lot of people don't know it. This is my stance. When I read scripture that says that Jesus came to save the world is already saved. We just have to step up into it. If Jesus is not your door, that's okay. Step up in the power of the Creator, of God that created you. And then we can do what we need to do. Right? We've got different people on this platform that do differently. I feel that there is a better way. There's a higher way. I don't hang on to my mistakes of the day. Remember, I shared with you, I break them off. If there's anything that the enemy's tried to get at with me, if I have felt for a split second insecure, I deal with it instantly. I still have those feelings. I still have those moments. But I deal with them straight away. I don't sit there and go, oh, okay, yeah, I'm really insecure because I really don't have much value, do I? And no one really cares, and I'm really lonely, and oh my gosh, what's the point of being here? If I have that self-talk, isn't that going to keep me down? Isn't that going to keep me in the place where I'm constantly nothing? This is what we have to snap out of, guys. And then we have the other agenda where you have people that are so insecure that they are, I'm the person. We got ego. And I'm like, no, you got two extremes. Let's be centered. Let's be balanced. Let's know who we are and be at peace and at rest in being. There's a big difference, guys. I don't do things out of I have to. I don't do things because I've got to work my way into being accepted by the Creator. There's a big difference, guys. There's a big shift. And I tell you, life is great when you are at peace and at rest with who you are and who God is for you. I know I keep harping on it, but I feel I have to keep saying it, because then you'll get it. Know who you are. Know who God is for you. Know what you carry so you can release that onto the earth. Whether it be in your house, in your community, or in front of thousands, it's irrelevant. Just be who you are designed to be and stay true to that. What I'll the next week, I'm going to share more in depth how he will try and infiltrate, but also how areas that he might have a legal right in your life that you're not aware of, so that you can shift it. And I'm going to talk about the difference between possession and oppression. So I'm going to finish that there, guys. Thank you for being with us today. Please don't be afraid. Don't have fear. You know, you're bigger than he is. He's already defeated, but be aware. All right. Love you all, guys. Thank you so much. See you next week. Bye.